Welcome to Movie World, the place where we only talk movies. And spoiler warning, I guess. I mean, it's in the title. It's been weeks, guys. I'm sorry if you weren't able to go to the theaters. I don't know how you avoided this. It's impossible to avoid it. But you shouldn't have been watching videos like this, because I'm going to get into it in great detail. Because yes, the Spider-Man United and Spider-Man No Way Home. And now, weeks later, the actors are finally spilling the secrets as to what it was like to get the role, what it was like to shoot, and so many more secrets coming in. So we're going to go through these articles. Now, these are 2 articles. Sadly, there's no video of this, so I'm going to have to give you my voice, my Andrew voice, as we get through Andrew Garfield's reactions to No Way Home. Starting with a simple, why did you say yes? I wasn't expecting to ever have a conversation again about potentially playing Peter Parker. I felt very excited to just be a fan again. But I got this call from Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige and John Watts with this idea. It was immediately undeniable. It sounded incredibly fun, incredibly spiritual, trippy, thematically interesting. On a base level, as a Spider-Man fan, just the idea of seeing 3 Spider-Men in the same frame was enough. So he's a fan just like us. I also got to say, he's being political here. He's making sure to give props out to Amy Pascal, who he might have been pissed at given the previous sort of stopping of his franchise, but no, he's giving Amy first, and then Kevin, and then the director all their props. The pitch was really, really enticing. They said, you played this character in your own way. What would you want to explore if you had an opportunity? If you were dumped into this other universe and faced with this younger you and this older you, how will you respond? We talked a lot about mentorship. We talked a lot about brotherhood, what it's like to be the older brother, younger brother, and the middle brother. There's also a thing of seeing someone you love walking down a path that you've already walked down, and you know it doesn't lead the place where you ultimately meant to go. That character is isolated in his emotional experience and physical experience. But what happens when that aloneness gets blasted open and you come to realize that you've never been alone and there are other brothers out there going through the exact same thing? That's a big spiritual journey to go on, man. And then we just milked out all the fun that we could possibly have. You and Tobey Maguire really did this. This wasn't a green screen setup in your driveway, and then they have a profound impact on Tom Holland's Spider-Man. We were shooting for 2 weeks. Toby and I, but I think we managed to achieve something that is not just showing up and going, hi, bye. My Spider-Man got to save his younger brother's romantic relationship, potentially, and to heal the most traumatic moment of his own life through doing it for his younger brother, making sure that he didn't have the same fate. There's something cosmically beautiful about that. It meant getting a second chance at saving Gwen, Stacy's Garfield's love interest in The Amazing Spider-Man, played by Emma Stone. You know, that's the spirit that Zendaya brings to MJ is so heartfelt and pure and loving, and Emma brought that similar unique spirit to Gwen. Got to remember, those 2 used to date as well. They don't anymore. She's now married to Dave McCreary, who's director on Saturday Night Live, Good Neighbor stuff. But good. At least he's being kind to her, as he should be. Talk about your time with your fellow Spider-Men. What did you share off screen? Compare notes about spandex and fans. I think the first time we were all in the suit together, it was hilarious because it's just like 3 ordinary dudes who were just actors just hanging out. But then also you just become a fan and say, oh my God, we're all together in the suits and we're doing the pointing thing. There was talk about going to the bathroom and, padding around the package. We talked about what worked for each of us. Tom was jealous because I have little zippers in my suit that I can get my hands out very easily. To work his phone, he had to use his nose because he couldn't access his hands. We would have deeper conversations too and talk about our experience with the character, and have Amy Pascal there, who has seen through 9 movies, including Spider-Verse. It was a revelatory experience for her, realizing how much life and time she'd given to this character. That was beautiful and profound. There's a line I improvised in the movie looking at Maguire and Holland, and I tell them I love them. That was just me loving them. So that line, if you guys loved it, came from Garfield. Screenwriters said at one point they considered bringing back Kirsten Dunst and Emma Stone. What would you have liked to see for your Peter and Gwen? Oh my God, I don't even know where to start with that. It's too big. Gwen had agency in our film. On our final day, she shows up. I tried to restrain her from showing up to that scene with Electro. I knew that it was too dangerous, but she chose to be there. She had a hand in her own destiny in that way, and the movie is about fate. I will say the image of my catching Zendaya's MJ, that was really beautiful, and it kind of sold me on the whole thing. A lot of the conversation about this movie has been about sort of redemption for your Spider-Man. Narratively, commercially, how does that feel? Because you got to remember, this was not a hit. A lot of people rag on Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2 especially. And I admit, this sold me on him. A lot of people have come around and go, all right, maybe it was a little harsh. He's doing the best he can. So here's his response to that. I'm so grateful. I'm just really, really grateful that I got to tie up some loose ends for the Peter that I was playing. I love that character, and I'm grateful that I got to work with those incredible actors, this incredible director, and Marvel in conjunction with Sony. I mean, he's really on the up and up. He's so buttoned up and thanking everybody professionally. It was joyful and a feeling of closure for me. There were so many unanswered questions from my Peter where we left it. I got to step back in and get some healing for him. And also really supporting Holland's Peter and honoring this character, completing that trilogy, not distracting or detracting from it. Would you be open to coming back to the character? I mean, yes, definitely. Open to something if it felt right. Peter and Spider-Man, those characters are all about the service to the greater good and the many. He's a working class boy from Queens that knows struggle and loss and is deeply empathetic. I would try to borrow Peter Parker's ethical framework in that. If there was an opportunity to step back in and tell more of that story, I would have to feel very sure and certain in myself. No Way Home is sort of the button for a big year. They all go on to talk about Tick, Tick, Boom and everything else, but I want to now jump on over to E.T., who got some more quotes, combining all the articles for you in one place. First and foremost, I'm a fan. When Pascal and Kevin Feige and John Watts asked me to have a word with me and talk to me about an idea, and they pitched it, it was just like I was the fans in the audience watching it on screen for the first time with like the three Spider-Men across universe sharing a frame together. Garfield said about being asked to participate in one of the franchise's most monumental moments, and like your little head, it just explodes. So that's the main thing in me that I feel about it. And then the fact that I got to be one of those people wearing the suit next to my actual Spider-Man hero, Tobey Maguire, and the brilliant, incredibly talented, heartfelt, funny, good, sweet, perfect Spider-Man of Tom Holland. And I get to be the middle brother, and I get to be in awe of my older brother and in full longing to protect my younger brother. And also there's something spiritual that kind of happened and happens and that we were exploring in the film, which is like archetypically the character is so alone, the isolation. That's an important part of the character in terms of canon of Spider-Man for me in a way. And it's a feeling that Garfield says audiences relate to as they personally discover their own talents. I think one of the reasons why I think it's so appealing to so many people around the world is that feeling of solitude that we can all, and loneliness is maybe a better word, that we can all relate to. As if we're figuring out our giftedness, our ordinariness, and how that meets to our expectations and going through adolescence and becoming a full person. The loneliness that the character feels archetypally that he seems destined to feel all his life suddenly gets broken open, Garfield explains. And these three guys who maybe felt very lonely in the universe before suddenly are aware that they're never alone, that they've never been alone, and actually there is a brotherhood out there. And God knows how many more Spider-Men, Peter Parkers there are out there to share in that support group with. Even with the support in both him and Maguire, the pair wanted to make sure that at the end of the day, it was always about Holland's Peter Parker and his journey as that character in the iconic suit. The theme of mentorship and how these two people across the universe were the only ones that could really fully understand what this young man was going through. And that was really important to us as well. And it was really, that it was really all about Tom and Tom's character, Tom's Peter, Tom's journey at the center of that, he said. And we were just there to kind of support and have a lot of fun. And it was so much damn fun. Garfield has admitted, still in disbelief that the legendary moment occurred and grateful for the brotherhood he's developed with Holland and Maguire, with whom he snuck into a screening of the movie. I love this little finale here. I still can't believe it happened, Garfield gushed. I snuck into a theater on opening day and just watched with my baseball cap and my mask. In fact, it was also with Toby. Me and Toby snuck into a theater together and no one knew we were there. It was just a really beautiful thing to share together and to find a brotherhood with Toby as well as with Tom, and the fact that we do share a very unique experience. When it comes to putting on the Spider-Man suit again for another return to Marvel, Garfield says, never say never. Man, it's a character that's always going to be so meaningful to me and so beautiful to me. And again, it comes back to service, he shared. I think if there's a way, because that's what the character is all about, he's all about serving the greater good and serving his fellow people, serving humanity and all life. So if there's a way for me to continue to add to the legacy of the character in a way that feels like it's a service to the audience, of service to them, to the themes that Stan Lee injected the character with, I'm open, of course. I'm very, very open, but it would have to be very, very special. It would have to be very, very meaningful and fun and joyful, like doing No Way Home was. So there you go. It's always going to be a part of me, whether I'm playing the character or not. I feel very connected to him. He went on to explain and talk about Tick, Tick, Boom, which is on Netflix, which I still haven't yet to see, directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. It looks fantastic. It's on my list to watch ASAP before I work on my year-end movies. But so cool to hear Andrew Garfield finally open up. I've become a fan of him. I mean, I've never not been a fan of him. I just didn't love his Peter Parker. I'll be honest. I didn't love it. I didn't love those movies. And to see his redemption here has been very fun to watch. The experience of him there, I got to say, I think he was the standout. Tom Holland got to really act and finally shine to me in an acting perspective. And just seeing Tobey back was so damn cool. But he didn't really get to do as much except for be there supportively, which was what I wanted. It worked. No dissing Tobey. But I really think it was Andrew who got to shine in the movie the most, and that surprised me. I was really impressed by his performance, his commitment to that role, as we've talked about in my reviews. So bravo to Andrew Garfield. Will there be an Amazing Spider-Man 3? Man, Twitter's all about it. They're pushing for Spider-Man 4. They're pushing for Amazing Spider-Man 3. Sony now has all the opportunities in the world to continue all the franchises if they wanted to. Should they? Which one do you want to see? I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. If you haven't already, subscribe here. You can also subscribe to my news channel over on Popcorn Planet. But I'm bringing back more movie news, movie coverage here on this channel. So thanks to everybody who watched. Again, what do you think? Which one do you want? And if you want to see what Spider-Man 4 would have been about, I'm going to put that video right there on the left. So check on that. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4 was almost made to fix Spider-Man 3. Will we get it now? Fingers crossed.